We are back with another deal of the week breakdown, and this one is a little bit more simple, more streamlined, but good cash flow, good interest rates, good loan program, great way to scale your real estate portfolio while you're in the early stages of wealth building. Now, this one was cool. It was actually for a friend of mine, and he bought a amazing multifamily property in Ohio, which, if you guys don't already know, Ohio is a very popular market for long-term rentals, short-term rentals, and midterm rentals, but primarily a lot of long-term rentals in some of the more populated areas. This property that we purchased was a multifamily. We're going to literally just jump straight into it for a second, get you guys into these specifics. It was a 4-unit multifamily property on almost 11,000 square feet for the lot size. It was 10,875. The living square footage of the units was 4,480, and it comprised of 2 2s. So it was 4 2 2s, so 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom. There's 4 of them, totaling 8 bathrooms and 8 bedrooms. It only sat on the market for 30 days, but we were able to negotiate some money in for seller credits, which I will tell you guys about in a second. We ended up doing conventional financing for this one, and it was structured as an investment loan. So one of the things that we know from conventional financing is that there is 3 different types of occupancy that you can declare when you purchase a property through conventional financing. We've talked about the 5% or 3 to 5% first-time home buyer incentives for primary residences. That's where you're going to say that you're living in the house. There is a second home loan, which allows for you to get in with a minimum of a 10% down payment. The third one is a 15% down investment loan. Now, when we do multifamilies, though, the process is different because in order to do a multifamily, most banks actually will require a minimum of a 25% down payment. We actually have different lenders that access in the program, and that's one of the things that we get the ability to do is like I have close to, I think at this point, 60 different banks that offer strictly conventional financing. In total, we have about 120 different lenders. Ranges from literally everything with land loans, home equity lines, home equity loans, all the way up to private money lending, fix and flip financing, ground up construction projects. You name it, we can probably find a lender for it to be able to get the deal through. But in this situation, we were able to do a 20% down payment. Not only that, though, we got a killer interest rate for him as well. So in order to push that through, we ended up doing that 20% down payment that I mentioned. So let's go back to this. I'm literally typing, and trying to do all these things at the same time. But I also couldn't even write to any conventional financing. We did conventional and we did investment. This was a 4-unit, and we also did it at 20% down, which again, like I said, it's not common. Most banks actually require 25% down in order to get these deals through. Purchase price on this was a whopping $370, which is crazy to think for a multifamily. Like in California, a 4-unit is easily going to run you $2 million. Like just the Bay Area, for example, or LA, easily going to run you $2 million just to be able to push that through. But in Ohio, property price points are much different, and that's why oftentimes I have people who live in some of these more expensive states, like the Florida, the California, the Texas, the New York, and then they invest out of state. So that's the way that we make things happen. What's cool about this one is it actually over appraised. So this property appraised for $390K. Amazing. Like had a 20K increase in value. I just realized that the purchase price is actually $375K, not $370. Amazing deal nonetheless, but we also got that increase in the appraised value. And I'll tell you guys in a second too how we could have increased more in seller credits. It's just not really something that we didn't do on the deal, but in certain situations we actually will even go higher in order to do this. So I have a deal right now it's such an amazing deal that when I do the deal week breakdown for you guys on that one, it's crazy. It's a triplex and it's very similar. So yeah, 20% down payment. The down payment ended up coming out to be, down P, came out to be 75 grand. I cannot write today, which was 20% down. 20% down. Cool. Let's see. Interest rate. Fire. This is especially for the time that we purchased this property. And I can't spell, but whatever. Interest rate, 6.375%. Amazing. And it was on a 30-year fixed. So again, there's definitely options for adjustable rate mortgages. Adjustable rate mortgages are basically where we find a property with a loan that is adjustable, meaning the loan can change on you interest rate wise after a certain amount of time, be it 5, 7, or 10 years. That means it's fixed for that time frame, and then after that, you actually have it adjust, and that adjustment depends on the bank and the loan program. But that's what an adjustable rate mortgage is. And I've had people who use adjustable rate mortgages, but sometimes it doesn't make sense. Like I have an adjustable rate mortgage on my Miami condo, and I'll have to refinance that in a couple years. But sometimes it makes sense in markets like right now, where interest rates have been, somewhat all over the place. They're higher. It makes sense to do adjustable rate mortgages, and then we refinance out of that and bring it back down later. So sometimes those things make sense. The principal and interest payment on this, P plus I, came in at $1,871 with 61 cents. The homeowner's insurance was more expensive because of the fact that it's a rental and it's a multifamily, and he wanted extra coverage, so it came in at $338 with 90 cents. And then property taxes came in at $861 with 41 cents. Now, there was no PMI, so again, PMI I'm going to put it at 0. But private mortgage insurance, or PMI, is essentially what you pay to the bank when you are getting a loan with less than a 20% down payment, although it's typically on traditional financing. There are some programs that don't have PMI. In this situation, because we did 20% down, there was no PMI. But it's essentially covering the bank in the event that you default, and so it's like sometimes an added monthly payment fee. But in this situation, there was no PMI, and so it was good to go. Total monthly payment, let's see, total came out to be $3,071 with 92 cents. Cool. Now, what I really liked about this property is that I think, if I remember correctly, the revenue numbers of just the existing leases in place on this property are close to like $5,000 a month. And so there's $2,000 a month of cash flow out after this monthly payment. Like, not only that, but he's also going to be able to increase rents. And if he makes some adjustments to the space or add some other stuff, he can probably get the rents up to like $5,500, maybe even $6,000. But it was just a crazy amount of opportunity. Yes, you're putting in more money. You're putting 20% down, but you're going to see returns like this. I think like that's, to me, it's a no-brainer. I'm always looking at those options. And then, if in 6 to 9 months we refinance him out of it, he's now going to be cash flowing even more money. Who doesn't want that, right? I always say investors want more cash flow. They don't want less. And that's why I like to be conservative with numbers, because he could underwrite this deal at 8% interest rate. And, we locked in at 6.375. So was ultimately still good to go. Now, total closing costs for this, we also had some adjustments. We also had seller credits, but moving over here, let's do total closing costs. Came in at $23,507.45. Also, because of the time of the year and the fact that property taxes and homeowners insurance are just more expensive around this time, putting it into an escrow account where the money is going to be held by the bank, and then they're going to be making the taxes and the insurance payment for you, just makes it more expensive. Seller credits that we received, as I mentioned, we got seller credits on this deal, which helps out. Of course, it's always less money out of pocket, but it was $5,000. And if you guys remember, the appraisal came in $15K higher, right? So like this deal came in at $390. We're buying it for $375. We could have gone back and negotiated for a higher sales price while also asking for more money in credits. And this is something that I've done on my own deals. Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. But if you always go higher on the price and then ask for money back in credits, the seller's price is the same, meaning that they're still going to get their money. That's not changing. The only difference is you're saving an extra $15K today, like in this example where we could have negotiated that money in, and it would have saved more money out of pocket. Then we also had adjustments. Remember, I mentioned here adjustments and other credits. So on your closing disclosure, when you're closing, there's always a section at the very bottom that's called adjustments and other credits. And it's basically some things that the seller's paying for that either you're getting reimbursed for, or things that you need to pay for to the seller. In this situation, it was $1,375, and that was included in here, but it's subtracted from the total. It was basically money back to him. It was for security deposit and then some other items there, but that ended up bringing us to this $1,375. That was the adjustments here, and then total of out of pocket, right, with down payment and everything else, came in at $92,132.45. Bam. Which $93,000 to be pocketing almost $2,000 a month Yes, you're spending the money up front, but you're going to be getting equity. You're going to be getting tax incentives. You're going to be getting cash flow. You're going to be getting appreciation. So there's a ton of things when it comes to real estate. It's not just the cash flow and the things that we need to focus on. It's also the other money saving or money making activities that come with owning investment properties and owning multiple investments. So that's why I'm going to continue to show you guys the behind the scenes of how we structure these deals. Like, some deals are different than others. Every deal is different than the others. And some make sense and some don't make sense. And if the deal doesn't make sense, I have no problem with advising my clients not to move forward. But in deals like this, I'm like, man, that is a no-brainer. Let's do it. And we didn't even have to put 25% down. So I hope you guys found this deal informative. If you guys are looking at multiple markets, I have the realtor recommendations that, like, we found this deal and a couple other ones. So, feel free to let my team and I know. I would be happy to help you guys out. But I will see you guys in the next Deal of the Week video. Peace.
Baby girl, keep running.